Welcome back, and it was a good start for Legacy, and honestly, they've needed it this split. What was it, Tectonic, you think, what were they trying to do in this game?
I mean, I feel like Tectonic had a really good strategy coming into it. It seemed like they wanted to trade sides of the map, starting their blue buff, making sure top was an island, which was able to scale, an island main left on their own, and then get that Azaya and the crit 80 carry to 2 or 3 items and keep Swain down. So Swain can't be that bully that generally, Swain Alice is generally like a bully lane, right? And they try and keep them down by constantly pressuring that bot side of the river. But it didn't end up working out. Do
you think that it didn't work because of a gameplay failure, or was there a problem with the draft? Where was it for you?
I mean, I feel like their draft, I mean, if you to look overall with what their strategy was, I feel like it was somewhat counterintuitive. So they looked to draft a teamfight composition, right? You've got a Galio there, you've got Uzziah Rakan, which is somewhat pick/teamfight. You've got a Gangplank as well. But then they've got a Talia. I mean, Talia was there to accelerate the game, but then they drafted this Talia and this teamfight composition against probably the strongest teamfight champs in the game. You got Rumble, Yasuo, Trundle, Swain, Alistar. Like, seriously, that is probably all those 5 champions are straight up 5v5.
Yeah.
So I feel like it was a little bit counterintuitive, and I hope that Cyclone, I understand what he was doing, but I feel like the minute details within the draft need to be optimized.
Do you think that he's going to have the same mindset going into Game 2, or does he recognize that this strategy is not going to work against Legacy and it's a quick readjust?
I mean, I think it's really interesting that they tried this style because it's playing towards their sub 8. They got a sub 80 carry and Gunkrab, right?
Yeah,
so they're putting the resources into the sub player, Gunkrab. They're not putting the resources into Paprise, who's a proven, with resources, been proven to be able to carry on a carry champ. Put him back, maybe potentially Cyclone will have to be reassessed and maybe put him on a Camille or a Darius, or get him one of those carry matchups that he's been proven and can carry on, rather than put the resources into one of these sub 80 carries.
Do you think that on that, given that Gunkrab is going to be replaced, do you think that there is a flaw in highlighting a sub player, like building strategies around a sub, rather than giving the existing permanent players in a bit like not only a time to shine, but also a time to grow in a role?
I mean, I think that like the experience that Gunkrab's going to get is obviously amazing, but I feel like maybe this is a sign that they rely too heavily on Trance. Maybe it's not Gunkrab. Maybe they want to play around the bot side of the map because of Trance. Because Trance has been he's the new player, one of the new players on the roster. They've had a massive increase in their level of play. Maybe this is a sign that Trance is potentially their in-game, the person they want to play around. So, and that makes sense, right? They drafted Rakan, a carry style, engage-oriented support. And I mean, I think that the strategy they went for is viable. Maybe we should be seeing it less in the sense that giving resources to Gunkrab, but giving more room for Trance, which is actually quite an interesting topic.
Well, look, the chat would love more Trance all the time. The chat will also love what's coming out next. So we have a little game to play. So you're back. I thought we could do something fun. Here's what we're going to do. You're a coach. You spend a lot of your time watching the gameplay. You spend a lot of time analyzing games. And I would hope you spend a lot of time listening to what champions say. Because we have a game that I'm calling Spracky's Suspect Saying. This was submitted by viewer Spracky, so congratulations. This game, I'm going to give you 3 voice lines. They all belong to the same champion. You need to tell me the champion, and then you need to tell me which voice line I made up.
All right.
All right? How confident do you feel?
I mean, I've played League of Legends for 8 years, so I'll be worried if I get 3 things here. Surely I could piece together what champion's going to be.
So you want to... Okay, so how many do you reckon you're going to get right? You reckon 6 for 6. You're Direwolves. You're 6 for 6. We're going to get this.
Yeah.
Okay, first one. 3 quotes. First one, I keep my powder dry. Second one, I always shoot first. Number 3, bang. Who is it? Which one's fake?
Man, it sounds so obvious. I mean, it's something to do with like an 80 carry with an arrow. What was the second one you said?
I always shoot first.
Oh man, this is so
Chat's
embarrassing.
going off right now. Chat knows. If you could look at chat, you would have the answer.
I'm just gonna say the powder. What the hell is that? I'm gonna say that's fake, and I'm gonna say it's like Ash or something. No, it's not Ash. It's Varus. What is it?
Varus? You were correct. I keep my powder dry as fake. The correct answer was Misfortune.
Oh,
I'm so sorry.
Man.
I'm so sorry. Keep my powder dry because it's like she's got a gun. You can ask for clues if you would like.
Okay, yeah.
You can have
I might need the old assistance on the side here.
Number 2. First quote, you can never bash something too many times. Second quote, I'll grind your bones to make my bed. Third quote, I like my human with a bit of spice.
What is this? I need a clue. Give me a clue here.
Okay, the first clue is this champion has Frey's hair.
Frey's hair.
The player,
Yeah,
this
red
champion
hair.
has their hair.
And say the four. Say okay. Give us a rundown quickly. What were the three?
You can never bash something too many times.
Yeah.
I'll grind your bones to make my bed.
Yeah.
I like my human with a bit of spice. And I'm sure he says it like that. Spice. And I just gave you a clue. It's a he.
Yeah, something with fire. You got some spice in there. You got some red.
Yep.
Red champion, red hair. I mean, this is so obvious. Even EGM's struggling over on the desk here. Come on.
Whilst this is happening, we're not talking, but we're like writing in the book. Like, what do you think it is? I thought it was Tristan Kate for the first one. He thinks it's Vi, but you said
it's
he,
not.
so it's not. Is
This
it like
hard.
Scion?
We all don't know.
Is
What
it Scion?
Wait, no, it wouldn't be Scion. He doesn't have red hair.
Because I don't want to. I don't want to give you answers.
Yeah.
I recognize
Give
the
me a
like.
clue if you
I think
think.
he, I
the
think
bit
he
of
needs
spice
you to
I
give
need
him
an
answers.
100% a legit line because I recognize it. I'm like, it's on the tip
Yeah.
of my tongue.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know what it is.
You have 5 seconds.
I'm just gonna say someone red.
3, 2.
Warwick.
Yeah, brand.
One.
I don't know.
No.
He's
it's
bold.
it's a big meaty top
The
laner.
correct answer was Trundle.
Yeah.
What?
I like
And-
my human with a
Oh.
bit of spice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, that makes
'Cause he's a
sense.
troll.
The whole bashing thing.
And he actually
yeah.
has a frozen club, which is the
Yeah.
opposite of fire. And the fake quote was, I'll grind your bones to make my bed. But I thought that was great. Third one.
Should have got that one.
The hammer does most of the work. I just swing it. Number 2. I'm the hammer. You're the nail. Number 3. Fool me once. Shame on you. Fool me twice. Hammer.
It's got to be like Poppy or Jace. It's gonna be one of them. All right. What's the clue?
The clue is they're tiny.
All right. Yeah. This is Poppy, right?
It is Poppy, correct. And the fake quote.
The fake quote was
The hammer does most of the work. I just swing it. I'm the hammer. You're the nail. Fool me once. Shame on you. Fool me twice. Hammer.
Yeah, the third one.
Nah, it's the middle
Nah,
one.
it's the middle
Really?
one.
Unfortunately,
Yeah,
it's the middle one.
Middle's fake.
Yeah, but also excellent. Next up, I am the blade in the darkness. Embrace the shadow or die in darkness. Third, have you heard the new song from the darkness?
This is Nocturne, right?
Mm.
Nocturne,
that your
and the
answer?
third one's fake.
Okay. Well, the third one is fake. Unfortunately, it was Zed.
Zed.
Oh.
What?
Yeah,
What
my
did you,
answer was
Bryce?
Zed.
What did you have?
He
I wrote
Nocturne.
Nocturne. There's too
Okay.
many shadow
I
references.
just see darkness and shadows.
Nah,
I'm
I knew
pathetic
that
at
one
this.
was Zed.
Twitch is saying Kane. Everyone's wrong.
Nobody ever opts
We've got
into
2 more.
Kane.
Alright.
First quote, the only peace I seek is death. Second quote, I brought you one true gift. I brought you death. And then the third quote, the only thing worse than death is death.
What?
That has to be Karthus.
yeah,
surely.
I was thinking Karthus.
You're
Yeah,
too
what's
good
the
at this
clue?
game.
What's the clue? Come on.
The first clue is this champion is, quote, not that bad.
Ah, wow.
Oh, that's a skin.
Oh.
It's one of those. Is it something or skin reference?
No, it's new.
Yeah.
Well, it's old and new,
Pike.
Bryce.
I don't know. I don't know, man.
Hey,
I don't know.
Aatrox.
People are saying
it?
Teemo. People are saying Soraka. The correct answer is Aatrox.
Yeah.
Okay.
That champion is
Alright.
not that bad.
I'm 0 for 4 right now.
And-
You're
and
struggling.
You're actually.
I'm in struggle
I
street
think you're
right
actually
now.
0 for 5, but that's okay.
Okay. Well,
The only peace I seek is death. I brought you the one true gift. I brought you death. The only thing worse than death is death. Which quote is fake?
yeah, that one. The only thing worse than death is death.
That is correct.
Alright.
And then finally, you're going to get this one. It's
Alright,
fine.
I better.
You're totally fine. First quote, this is going to tickle. Second quote, like fish in a barrel. Third quote,
Ah.
I get off tickling fish in barrels.
Okay, I feel really dumb right now, but I think it's GP, is it?
Twitch, isn't it?
No, I thought
Nope.
it was
Nope.
great.
Yeah!
What?
It's great.
I just imagine him be like fish in a barrel.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, when you
Yeah.
say it like
Yeah.
that, it's great.
Yeah.
It's obviously.
Yeah,
you should have done the voice.
Yeah, he doesn't get into the. You're gonna.
Oh, I'm so sorry. The voice would have fixed everything. And so,
Oh, yeah,
which is the
they're
fake
wrong.
quote? This is
The-
going to tickle, like fish in a barrel. I get off tickling fish in barrels.
Yeah, the third one. I get off tickling fish in a barrel.
Wow.
Unfortunately, it's the first
What?
one this is going to tickle.
What?
No, it's not. That's fine. Well done. Well done. Well, look, you didn't get any of them. You've been playing League of Legends for 8 years, as you said yourself. But I think it's a difficult game.
I actually play with the sounds off.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
right.
come
Oh,
on.
I'm dead
You
serious.
can't say that now.
I'm
Like,
actually serious. I
That's a
do not play
classic
with sounds
Jake
on.
move of like, as soon as I miss a
I
week
play
of
with
tips,
no
I'm not playing
music.
anymore.
I play with no music, sound effects to like
My God.
nearly 0, and the only thing I actually can't hear anything basically.
You sicken me
I
with
know.
your lies.
Flag.
No, I'm actually dead
How do you
serious.
dodge Cassiopeia and oh, it's a noise
Just-
cue. It's
I mean,
a noise
just
cue.
scripts, man.
Script.
Oh, yeah.
All right, before we head back to game number 2, I just want to remind you guys to keep submitting your suggestions for what Juves and I are going to paint tomorrow in the broadcast. There is a Google form in the chat right now, Lauren, that you can submit your entry to. Just make sure you rename the picture to have your username, your like basically Twitch name, so that we know who you are. All right, guys, back to you at the desk.
And remember, when you're painting, there is no such thing as a mistake. There's just
Just
happy little
little
accidents. And Tectonic need to learn from their happy little accident
Oh.
last game. And it was interesting what Sharp said, because I agree with him. In perfect situations, when you have Rumble Yasuo, you win a lot of team fights. But I think, and this is my opinion, that neither of those teams played perfect League of Legends.
Yep.
So that was one of those games where it was really 50-50, and I feel like it wasn't the team that made more proactive plays, it was the team that made the least mistakes won that game.
Because all of the fights started off Gunkrab walking up, like he got hit by the Yasuo knock-up around the Baron when he had Flash, when he had Ultimate. Talia, Sybil gets caught in the mid lane by a Swain, rip back, and then Legacy find themselves another engage. Because Tectonic, like, going off what Sharp said on the couch, 100% agree. They came in with a game plan. They wanted to split the map. They punished bottom side, took away first blue, forced only out of the jungle. He starts his jungle late, take away second blue. That was a very good strategy, and it worked well early game. Just unfortunately fell down, and Legacy ran away with it.
I feel like Cyclone has learned something that Order learned against Mammoth, which is when you're playing teamfight comps, ban Swain, because Swain, in a short, bursty fight where you can just blow someone up, does nothing. And then when you're playing team fights, does a lot. A whole bunch of a lot.
Especially
needs single target damage to take him out.
when he cleans up a triple kill, and then as all of a sudden goes from 1-1, like 1.5 items, to 2.5, and you're like, wow, okay, this is a problem.
Certainly was. It's going to be Fiddlesticks Morgana as well as Hymaninger taken away. Aatrox, Zoe, Swain banned away. And then Legacy are going to lock themselves in the Raken.
Yeah, so this is the complete opposite last time. It was Legacy banning away the Morgana, and then Tectonic just first picking that Rakan. Legacy. They ban away the Morgana again, but they actually get the Rakan. Now being on blue side, they have first pick, and Ezreal priority lock-in is very interesting for Gunkrab.
And just a blind hover of a Camille. If this is locked in, Gauntlet is thrown at Mimic.
Can flex into the jungle as well, but you have to think.
Would not expect it to. Camille jungle, recently, is something that has not shown much success.
And you have things like Gragas running around that kind of do a similar thing, like do a lot of damage early game and then functions as a tank. Camille does a lot of damage early game and then has to be a carry on a jungler's budget.
Doesn't clear. Like, it's impossible to clear Raptors. It's hard to even, like, this is early game.
Yeah, when you
even Wolves do a lot of damage.
It's really sad watching a Camille jungle and watching her try and, like, W the Raptors and just, like, the minuscule amount of damage it does until you get a Tiamat. It's super struggle street, as the Zyra Rakan will be locked in. You think Ezreal for Gunkrab is probably just a very safe pick away because they knew the Zyra Rakan was coming. They didn't want to pick away the Zyra in isolation, so they opt in for a very defensive matchup early.
And when the Season 7 team fight comp doesn't work, you just reach back into the back drawer and you whip out the Season 2 team fight comp of the Ezreal Orianna.
Yeah.
Highest persistent damage in the game 5 years ago. See how they fared today.
Hope the stats are still trending in the same direction. I feel like we've seen Frey play Shock in the OPL a few times. Of course, Shock has got to pick this one up for himself. Has the ability to ban away on red side third pick, so immediately bans the Yasuo. Claire started that game 0-2, and as soon as they found a successful team fight, got back into the game when then was a problem in the team fight, so they banned that one away, respect it.
Claire's resilient.
Yep.
He will try over and over again to make what he thinks is the right play. And if you keep him down, he can have the propensity to fall behind. However, if he gets one of the correct plays, will claw his way back into the game.
Look, I'm going to be honest. You have to be resilient when you constantly get sent back to base on Rise before you get your tier. You know, if you just conk it out early, like 3 minutes, first gank, don't get tier, oh, GG, then you're probably not going to win many games. As he's proven time and time again.
He's probably suffering from the same Sydney ailment that I've been suffering from.
Okay.
Darius going to be banned away.
Yeah, we didn't see that one banned last time. Gangplank is still up and available. But with the Camille locked in, you have to think it's probably not going to be locked in.
It's honestly not the worst matchup in the world. You scale fine into it. Obviously, you have a Sejuani, and it's going to be a Naughty.
That is super interesting. Expect that to be in the bottom lane?
Jungle Nautilus.
Jungle Nautilus?
I don't know.
Like, it has been played top. It has been played jungle.
Has been played mid.
Yes, it has. Don't be, you know? And I'd probably, with an Orianna, it's probably
not.
Pretty unlikely to go into the mid lane, but I like the guaranteed lockdown against a Xayah, against a Rakan, against a GP of the Nautilus when paired with an Orianna. You can always guarantee a shockwave onto at least one carry, really. And
I just love the ultimate. It's the best ultimate in the game.
Yeah, it just chugs along underground. It's super satisfying. Gangplank does just get locked in, so Mimic wants to try his hand at that one. Does he get rumbled?
I don't think so. I think he's going to get Camille.
Yeah,
it's going to be Syndra in the mid lane, the old school counter pick.
Yeah. This is a real throwback. This mid lane draft, blind pick Orianna. Because Orianna for years was just the blind pick mid laner. Like, her bad matchups weren't that bad. She used to honestly...
With Zed. Zed was a bad matchup, which she could win.
Because she used to be, like, fairly favored at one point into the Syndra, and then the matchup reversed.
Yep.
So, for a long time, has been very strong. Of course, the meta is incredibly different now, and
it was one of those... Oh, and it is going to be a top lane Cho'Gath. So that is going to be a jungle Camille. Unless there's a jungle Cho'Gath. Unless there's a support Cho'Gath and a jungle Nautilus.
Support Camille, top lane Cho'Gath, jungle Nautilus. You know, we've seen a whole bunch of wacky stuff. You assume this is just going to be the lock-in for them. Sybil going back for the Camille, Supportless in the bottom lane for Trance. So he has proactivity, he has CC.
It's very strange that he's going with Camille as opposed to Talia. Because you would argue that Talia would add nearly better gank threat in every one of these lanes right now than what Camille will.
I'm most interested in that you've got Nautilus, who's like a very, out of the tanks, he's very squishy, but he has so much CC and his engage range is incredible. And then they're pairing it with like a TP Ezreal. Like, they're not looking to go aggressive early on the Xayah Rakan you expect with that pickup of the Summoners there, so fairly interesting.
Two high CC champions in the game on Summoners Rift right now. Sejuani and Nautilus. Sejuani has it in her passive, as does Nautilus.
It's real satisfying just whacking like literally everyone on the opposing team, especially really immobile carries, like a Xayah, like a Syndra, things like that. So Tectonic once again set themselves up for a big team fight. And Legacy this time, they have potentially the 1-3-1. They have the scaling of the Gangplank. The Tides have turned. Mimic wants to be ahead of the clock and just farming it up in a side lane. And letting the rest of his team just 4v4.
And Papara is going with a throwback pick in the Cho'Gath. Is a big brick wall. If gets on top of Gangplank early, has kill threat. However, as the game progresses, Mimic's just going to continue to put bullets into him. It's a tough matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. When you have a jungler like Sybil on the Camille, right? Like, you have that gank threat, absolutely early Camille. Very potent from level 2. You can go red buff to a lane. We saw a lot of that leading up to Rift Rivals. Of course, we're a few weeks after that point, but the option is still there.
And we are onto Summoner's Rift. Game number 2 between Legacy and Tectonic. Legacy able to take game number 1. Soul Strikes is going to join us. Soul Strikes going into this week. Obviously, big one for you guys. Tectonic already gone through Order, gone through Chiefs, and you guys desperate need of points. Was the preparation any different or just another day in the office?
Well, at the beginning of the week, it was really hard for us. We needed to identify what our strengths are and our weaknesses are, and we've identified it, and I think we're still struggling to get it through, but throughout the week, week by week, I think we're making good progress.
And talking about week by week, of course, this week you're playing against Tectonic, and then you have Order, which is a pretty rough matchup, and then you have Bombers, and then Chiefs. Are you worried at all about the up and down nature of the rest of your schedule going into the end of the split?
No, not really. It's just we're just versing another team, and each week we're going to have different preparation against Order and Bombers and Chiefs. So looking forward to every single week.
And now I want to ask you about what is an old school matchup in the mid lane. In Syndra versus Orianna. This is something that we used to see a lot of. Is Syndra favored? But you have to throw your mind back a couple of seasons to get it.
Yeah.
Claire obviously around back then. Are you confident in the old school picks that Claire's able to reach back towards?
It's mostly blue buff dependent. So if the mid laner gets denied a blue buff, then Orianna should win. But if Syndra gets a blue buff, she should win really hard. But it is Syndra a bit favored. But from a mid laner perspective, blue buff, they're just yelling blue buff.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll see whether he can get one this game. Thank you so much for joining us, Soul Strikes. Best of luck. Of course, that is Soul Strikes head coach of Adelaide.
Have you
of
ever heard?
Legacy.
Have you ever heard a mid laner not yelling about blue buff? Because I certainly haven't. You know.
Yeah, well, it's really interesting at the moment because I actually hear 80 carries yelling about blue buffs more because obviously a lot of funnels and a lot of the funnels are actually reliant on blue buff. Something we found out early is if you get a blue buff denied and you're running a funnel comp, you
Real
can't
hard to
farm
continue
anything.
clearing camps, stuff like that.
So, unfortunately for Swiffer, he doesn't get many of them.
Yeah, can be fairly hard. Guncrab has Electrocute on this Ezreal. We talked about pairing the Nautilus with a TP Ezreal is super weird. The fact that he's gone Electrocute is super weird, I think, but the early damage is absolutely there. Normally you see the Klepto, things like that, unless there's like a visual bug, but that'd be a big stretch.
Yeah, I don't know why he would go with that. It doesn't really make any sense to me, actually, Bryce, because let me tell you, oh, actually, we're going to have a roam up here from Trans.
Flash
Hook will land and will get the Ignite down. That is first blood picked up for the support player.
Oh, no!
It's for the mid laner, and he doesn't even die.
Claire dinged level 3 on the back end of that one and gets it from a minion. Trance flashes forward, lands the hook, lands the Ignite. Damage from Shock, and he's the one that falls down. On a nice edge there. Very disappointing if you're supporting Tectonic. That's rough.
And it's even more disappointing if you were Trance and you like just flash forward and auto attack him, Shock. What are you doing? You hate to die when your mid laner has double summoner spells available.
Super frustrating. Burning both summoners in a pretty rough matchup in the bottom lane when you're against a Xayah, when you're against a Rakan. They can have a lot of pressure down there. Now you go mid, you burn everything, looking for that out, looking for the advantage, and it doesn't quite hit the mark.
And now it's going to be a full Dark Seal in the advantage of Claire. See whether he can make work with this one. As you can see, only is tracking Sybil around the jungle. Sybil not going to stop for a camp, however. Does he get in the brush?
Ooh.
No.
Doesn't. Mimic has a lot of priority in the top side, allowing only to look for this. Can they connect the stun? Just out of range, doesn't find it. Rupture also misses, so now there's no CC in the hands of Tectonic. Only can stick around.
Certainly can. You can see they have very good vision control of this area. See whether they do deny Sybil is back. They do.
Sybil's just basing in vision right now. They know exactly where he is. Keg does land at the Cho'Gath on the backside. They're looking for the contest.
Once again, I think that this is a one-on-one that Cho'Gath does win. However, is taking a lot of damage, and now Sybil might have to burn his flash to get out. Will go over the wall. Flashes to stop, however, that is a flash for a flash.
Oh, very rough for Only. Flashes after the Camille, actually hits himself into the hook shot, so Sybil barely lived. Should have died in that situation. Let the aftershock hit him to put him in one auto attack range of death. Only looks for it. Just barely doesn't come up with the goods.
And interesting here, Bryce, I think the reason that Papyrus was losing that trade so hard was the fact that he went with Spellbook, which of course doesn't come online at this stage of the game.
Yep.
So if he had something like a Grasp of Undying, probably would have got a couple of cheeky procs there. With a Spellbook, did a whole lot of
Nada.
Jack.
Absolutely, and is now just farming up his wave underneath the turret against a Gangplank, and that's such a weird thing to talk about. Gangplank shoving in the Cho'Gath early, allowing this Sejuani to invade the Camille.
Yep.
These are two matchups that are almost completely reversed, and Tectonic with the bottom lane, they went to take that one mid. That's two plays early that have fizzled. That's super rough.
And what I was going to say is I'm actually very surprised that Guncrab is playing Electrocute on Ezreal, because I am a big AP Ezreal connoisseur.
Yep.
And when Electrocute was the only real, as we actually might have an invade here, was the only real, rune, but back when it was Thunderlords,
yep.
AP Ezreal sucked. The addition of Summon Airy helped AP Ezreal a lot. Now, in saying that,
W through a wave and proc Airy. Yep.
Klepto is still a much better choice. So going Electrocute on the AD variant is very confusing. However, he has based and picked himself up a Sheen. So now you really have to just question whether it is an AD variant.
Yeah, it's, super weird. Picking that one up. Like, there's always the possibility that he honestly just messed up his runes.
Yep.
And, like, you get in game and, like, you're stuck with it. That's an absolute disaster there.
Is there that possibility, though? Because he would have been playing... Well, it was Lethal Tempo, I believe, on his Xayah. So how do you muck up runes that hard?
I mean, because it's interesting to talk about. A lot of pro players just have one rune page and change it on the fly.
Yep.
And if Guncrab's that player, you don't mess that one up. Because then you have Lethal Tempo and then you just go into Klepto and you change it on the fly and you have to deal with it.
Papyrus doing big damage here to Mimic and will be able to change.
Oh,
Does
Ignite.
change to the Ignite. The knock-up will burn the Flash. Very nicely played.
Ignite for Flash trade there. Gets him cheeky little advantage. Allows him to nom on the minions. And talking about Guncrab still, like, if he's the player that switches his masteries every single game, then that doesn't work. So he has to be a guy that sets up multiple rune pages for different champions. like electrocute on something like the Heimerdinger maybe in the bottom lane.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that because I honestly haven't done that for 5 years.
Yeah, I'm a switch it every single game guy as well.
Even if I play the same champion, I redo the room page.
Yeah, because there's a lot of optimizations depending on matchup that you change. Like, you don't just have one page for Ali.
Yeah.
Like, if you have a harder matchup, then maybe you go in for Guardian instead of the the Aftershock, stuff like that.
If you're never going to become ruling forward, Guardian is much better. You know, playing against something like the Soraka, which you're just never going to get on.
I'm gonna have to hard disagree with you there on that one.
No, in solo queue, in competitive might be completely different, but in solo queue, Sorakas do not play for Q Soraka.
Yeah, they're just
Soraka's a W Sorakas, my
Soraka.
friend. Yeah, they just stand a meter behind their AD carry and just continue to heal. And you forget when you watch. Actually, let's have a look at this one.
Legacy turning the tide on Tectonic here. They're being the ones to look for the blue invade this time. They have the Xayah Rakan.
Very blue buff dependent, we got told.
And this is Legacy putting priority on that right now. Mid lane has priority, bottom lane has priority. Only walks in. His pink ward does die, unfortunately. Shock. It's a very heavy trade from
That's
Claire.
going to be the ultimate used as well. Gameplank ultimate will be dropped. No shockwave used, however, so Shock just will flash away.
And that's the thing. He had to respect the Sejuani. He pays the price in cleanse, so all of a sudden doesn't have a combat summoner. Allows Claire to take the TP, so he's getting the cheeky extra little bases off in this matchup. He already has that one kill, so Flash has to be burnt from the Orianna, and Legacy get to take away the blue.
And that's a nice play from Legacy, because they make it in multiple stages of the map, but they don't overcommit onto anyone either. You don't see Claire flashing forward for the last orb. You don't see, you know, only trying to chase Sybil through the jungle. So I really do respect the fact that they make 2 high percentage plays and they both stick.
Yeah, and here we go. Tectonic on the top side. No GP ultimate, no flash.
Burnt out of Sybil as well. Knockup will land, and this should just be Mimic falling down. Do they eat him? Yes, they do.
And that is the cost there. GP ulti goes mid lane. Sybil walks all the way top and gets into the unwatered lane bush. Sure, they're getting a lot of chip damage bot side, but you need to pick on the gangplank. You need to set him behind. Mimic has gone for the Klepto, whereas Paprise has that spellbook. So after that 6-minute mark here, the spellbook has come online. Use the Ignite to get the flash, and that's a long-term play for Tectonic, an investment, and it pays off.
Yeah, and meanwhile, bottom lane, you say a little bit of chip damage. This is turning into an absolute wash of a lane. Trance not yet level 6 because of the roam early.
Yep.
Gunkrab very much struggling to sustain in mana and keep this wave off his turret.
And he's having to burn the E on the Ezreal to try and farm up the wave to like reposition, get away from a rip from Xayah. This is one of those lanes that if you get ahead early, like Ezreal's 1 to 2 is actually very strong. Yeah, it's basically an auto attack reset in his Q. You just get 2 autos where other champions don't. If you find an all-in, you can get ahead. But the fact that they didn't, the fact that Trance went for that play mid, they used a lot of their resources, all of Trance's summoners, and they've just been getting shoved in from that point. Now digging level 6 means a gank is an option in the bottom side, but you kind of have to go on the Rakan. Xayah's just going to Featherstorm the Nord ulti, decoy. If he's the target, can dash so far away, it's super rough for Tectonic's bottom lane.
And I wonder the thought behind the Nautilus, because in a situation like this, you would argue that Leona is just a better champion. You know, the reason Leona was a big counter was because if you go on Rakan and he dashes towards Xayah, you just throw your ultimate at both of them, and then that works out. You can say the same thing happens with Nautilus, but a much weaker laning phase, and is not as tanky. Leona, one of the tankiest supports in the game, as we see a little bit of headbutting in the mid lane.
Shock actually on the aggress here.
Gonna be the shockwave, got the flash, and that means he will just fall down.
Huge misplay out of the mid laner of Legacy, but on the bottom side.
Yeah, you can see already that they've gone in. That's going to be the flash out of Trance. He's going to no man's land, however. That will just be the stopwatch used, and the stopwatch used from Trance as well. Trying to just buy some time. Now Sybil as well as Shock have moved over.
They're onto the wrong side of the map.
So low. Teleport is available, but not being channeled right now. You have to argue if they're fighting this one. That's a bit of a mistake. There is such a huge creep wave there. Now, finally, Teleport will come in, but it's out of the AD carry. Teleport being channeled by Mimic, so they will bait it out and they will cancel.
And Paprise is the one that doesn't actually blow the summoner there. He has the spellbook. He has the propensity to switch that one around, take down the cooldown. So super interesting. Gunkrab has to cancel to get back to his own lane. Legacy, sure, Clay goes down in the mid lane, but they find first brick. They find the answer through their bot.
What is this build coming out of Gunkrab?
A little bit of everything.
Sheen Cutlass, no boots, which is one of the biggest rush items on an Ezreal. No tier.
Has a fairy charm.
No
working on the
Klepto.
tier.
Meanwhile, into the mid lane they go. They're looking to once again blow up Claire. This is multiple members coming down. That will be the ultimate used onto Sybil, but Shock gets another kill.
Yeah, they do get an Ocean Drake, but Claire once again falling down. Seems like this matchup has certainly swung in favor of Shock. Found the 1v1. Had Sybil in his back pocket both times. Sure, Tectonic, they lost the bottom lane, but they do make a trade on the other side of the map. Sybil does actually get the Scuttle Crab decoy. Trying to contest, but unfortunately can't find it.
And this game has been scrappy,
All sorts
is the
of weird.
word I would use. It's bizarre. There is another mana crystal in Guncrab's inventory, so maybe just now realizing he doesn't have a tier.
I feel like we talk about Claire and not getting tier on his first base. He's pretty good at getting on it on his second base. Guncrabs went back to base, picked himself up a Sheen, then based and got himself a Fairy Charm. Now has a Mana Crystal. This is like a... Tier literally builds out of 2 items, and every base he's getting one of them. And the third one he's going to have enough to finish the recipe. So
yeah, this is a disaster.
This is going to be super late from Tectonic's AD carry.
I mean, right now you would argue that, 19 minutes on the transform isn't unrealistic. 24 minutes is, about par for course. He's not going to have it finished.
Yep. He wants to stay on the map from now. Like, he's farming topside. Legacy going to pressure out the Rift Herald. They're looking for a play top. Q does land, but there's a lot of CC here. Decoy doesn't have flash to close the distance. But Guncrab probably isn't getting another base in the next at least 2 minutes. Yep. Unless they just look to sack this side of the map completely. So Legacy kind of just running away with it so far. Only is on the flank, spotted out by the Rift Scuttler, but Trance might be in a bit of trouble.
Potentially. There were a couple of members moving down towards him, but no teleport advantage on any of their members means that they probably cannot take that fight.
You can also buffer the CC with a hook on Nautilus. Actually went for the base skin, controversial opinion. Doesn't have the extra range of Subterranean.
Doesn't have the extra damage reduction.
Yep. What is that? What is the damage reduction? I'm actually forgetting. I don't remember. I think it's the World Ender, the World Breaker.
Yeah, the big one.
Nobody uses Astro Nautilus.
No,
though.
no one uses that.
That is a cool skin.
Yellow Nautilus, best Nautilus.
Yeah, but Astro Nautilus has the coolest walking animation. By far. 100%. It's like, you cannot convince me of otherwise.
Do not contest?
No, do not contest. Absolutely zero. Shock. Gets himself a blue buff, so we'll be happy in the matchup right now. Sure, he has very little mana, but we'll, I guess, eventually get it back.
Yep. Levels up there, has blue buff, of course, has his lost chapters as well. This is now 4 members heading topside. Ultimate will come across to try and clear out some of the wave, but they're not looking to defend this, I wouldn't think, without Sybil, so the turret's going to fall.
This is a stun landing onto the Nautilus. Big
certainly is, however, buffeted that hook, and now we'll use the ultimate onto Decoy, and Paprise is here. Feathers will fly. No shockwave yet. Burnt and Mimic is just taking some damage on the back end of this fight. Finally, Sybil is rotating over, and they say, okay, now that we have all 5 members, maybe we can go, but that keg clips everyone. Sybil now still looking for his way in. That is going to be the ultimate out of Rakan. Finally, Paprise is a fridge, but will fall down eventually. Yes, he will. Nice stun onto 3 members. Shockwave onto everyone. And now the fight has really started. Sybil in the back line trying to clean up Mimic, however, will not be able to do it. Mimic goes golden, and this is a wash right now. Claire looking to get the stun, will not register, but it's a 4 for 1.
But just too little too late there. The TPs come out from Tectonic. Paprise looks for the flank. Featherstorm keeps Raid alive, but Sybil is just so far away for so long. Legacy, they're making the proactive play. It's a 4,000 gold lead almost at 15 minutes. Will be after they take down this turret, and Tectonic just haven't been able to make answers.
And when you have a 3-0-0 Orianna who hits a 4-man shockwave, you think you've won the team fight, but that is not how this one worked out.
Unfortunately not here. Trance starts this one off. Sure, he gets stunned and chunked out, but TP comes through, buffers the hook through the CC. This entire time, that could have been a huge knockup from Nautilus. Raid blows Featherstorm early, decoys Rakan, so he dances around for a long time, and Tectonic, they're just waiting. The CC from Trance has already been blown. Shock is too far away, and at this point, when Sybil gets here, they look to contest, but walking up the choke against a Rakan, Decoy honestly very unlucky to not catch Sybil on the back end of that one, but this is a very big shockwave we're about to see in a second. Double stun from Syndra is huge. And this almost looked good. Trance had got so much HP from the back of that fight. Healed back up immensely. It was about 2 HP, but unfortunately for Tectonic, just so many blinking health bars and they don't get a kill.
Shock was is the first thing that I want to point out. The second thing I want to point out was the fact that both Shock and Guncrab did not want to fight. They were nowhere near when Rakan went in with that engage. So you just got to question what the communication was like going into that one. Didn't look like they really knew what was going on.
Silver Linings, Ezreal has finished his tier.
Has a amp tome.
Yep. Ah.
I don't know what he's building.
Gunblade? Is this a Gunblade? Oh, because that procs Electrocute. This is going to be a Gunblade Ezreal.
Is it?
Ulti.
Gonna
Lands
land.
onto the Cho'Gath.
This is going to take a while, guys, but Paparize is going to fall down eventually.
Didn't take too long in the back end of that one. That's 4 versus 1. They take him down. Mimic floating from top side towards the mid. They want to counter the answer from Tectonic. Don't give them too much mid priority. Dragon spawning in about 30 seconds. Legacy have just found access to every objective on the map. They have the Dragon. They're going to have control over the second one. Lanes have gone well. That's pretty interesting. Legacy's average game trajectory doesn't play through the bottom lane. But this is a Xayah Rakan that's working immensely well. They got the chip damage, brought down Only, brought down Claire, broke down the turret, flipped the map, rinse and repeat on the top side. So this is an early game style that we don't normally see from Legacy that's super successful.
However, given the fact that they have won a couple of games late game, you would think if they do have a lead, that it should be easier to execute on that.
Double Ocean Drake. Not the biggest prize here for Legacy, but they'll absolutely take it. Tectonic know exactly what's going on. They have the Scuttle Crab, so they're just looking to answer on the other side of the map. I'm interested, like, does he go Gunblade? Is that like is this going to be a Gunblade Lichbane? Seraphs? Or is that, like, what is the amp tone? Like,
I don't know.
Is that just Archangel? He's like, look, I'm not going to get Madame. Is this an AD? Is this a Triforce Bork? And he's just gone for an amp tome to eventually build into Seraphs? Because he's like, look, my Madamune's not going to be useful anytime soon. I might as well get a shield.
I don't know.
Is that a thing?
I have no idea.
I'm trying to figure out, like, the build trees in my head. This is,
I'm interested to find out.
Super interested. I hope the game goes long enough that we see the build.
Yeah, it probably isn't going to.
Because Legacy are in firm control, 5,000 gold lead.
At 18 minutes. Unfortunately for Gunkrab, even if you add real items, it wouldn't be all that much different right now.
Against a 3-0 crit 80 carry, almost at 2-item mark, going for that rapid fire rather than the rune answer. That's a Gunblade. Because that's like an E forward, like an auto attack. Gunblade all of a sudden procs Electrocute.
Well, no, even like when you have Revolver,
Yep.
Q auto attack procs it. Because you get the damage from Q, you get the damage from auto, then the damage from Revolver.
True. So he has many ways to proc it. He's not going to struggle to proc his Electrocute. Just going to probably struggle to deal damage because he's so far behind. 20 CS in a hole, but 0-2.
An interesting build nonetheless. You would say they lack for physical damage in this comp.
Yep. They certainly have burst. If they get a big Nautilus combo onto an immobile Syndra, onto Raid without ulti, like Orianna, Cho'Gath knockup, they have the CC to layer and the burst from Ezreal Orianna that'll absolutely win them a team fight. It's going to rely on a heavy misplay from Legacy to set that up from this point, and in terms of they have just complete control of the map. But potential is there, I guess.
I mean, AP Ezreal's ultimate does a lot of damage.
It does.
If he gets towards 2 or 3 items. As
Claire.
Claire going to be caught out here. Can get ulted up. That will be Gangplank ultimate used, but Sybil flashes on him. Shutdown will come across for Sybil. It's a big one now if he can just run away.
Yep.
It's worth.
Absolutely. Gets a nice 600 gold there. Hookshot buys him some time. He's on the wrong side of the map, but Tectonic just going to pressure the mid lane. You have to think Legacy probably just looking to answer that one. It might just be Only being the only member sent over here to clean this one up. Goes over the wall and Raid. Can he find the kill?
Should pick him up. Will do so. However, mid lane, you can see there's multiple members converging here, trying to take this turret down.
If Legacy do find enough time to collapse on the back end, Decoy does have flash, he does have the ultimate, he can look for an engage, but now he's pretty far away. Not going to be able to find it. Only didn't have to use his ulting in any of those engages to pick up the kill onto Sybil. So
And that was a Q out of Gunkrab. Didn't do much damage, Bryce.
because a lot of the Q's damage, like sure it has like Sheen, but you proc the Mirror Mana off that. Like that's what you're used to seeing as a 20-minute Ezreal. Unfortunately, he's just sitting on the tier right now, has the Gunblade, so without proccing the Electrocute, not going to do a whole lot. That's
You're
super
really
rough.
banking on this Electrocute, aren't you?
Like, I mean, he has to. He's got nothing else. He's got double amp tome. He doesn't have boots. He's so slow. This is weird.
Who needs boots?
Who needs a map?
He's not into sneaker culture.
Neither's Nick Boy, by the way, because he tried to tell everyone that he's...
Oh, that was hilarious.
He's just plain white leather shoes with close to NMDs. Like everyone just
I
had a
nearly
big
face
sigh of
palm.
disgust.
Yeah.
Almost immediately. Tectonic, now that we've hit the 20-minute mark, have to start worrying about Legacy setting up a Baron. We have seen Legacy struggle around the big purple worm previously. Last week was an absolute disaster for them as well. They have a pretty quick Baron, but Only is the only tank to
He doesn't have much attack speed either.
set that one up.
Gunkrab.
This is just such a weird build. Tectonic send multiple people mid lane. Legacy just opting in for the 1-3-1.
see Xayah right now is by herself on the top side of the map, Gangplank bottom lane. So not many fights going to be happening right now.
And Legacy are playing this one defensive. That's a stopwatch picked up for the Xayah. He didn't have that from level 1. He's actually bought it straight up. So going for that GA. Wants to dodge out on the insta, like the burst from the shockwave from the Nautilus ulti. Paprise just feasted a minion in the side lane. So you have to think Tectonic aren't opting into any sort of fight. It's pretty interesting given that Baron is up and available. Legacy is setting up. If you have Cho'Gath Feast, you can actually possibly look for a steal with the Cho'Gath, with Sybil over the wall. But they're not going to have that opportunity.
Absolutely can. You can see right now they are pinging out onto Shock. Want to get some vision into that brush. They are pushing in mid lane very deep.
Can they make anything stick? Playing very tentatively here. Shock on the Orianna does bode very well in terms of dealing with waves underneath the turret. Can wave clear from range. You have kill threat with a shockwave, so Legacy just still prioritizing top vision. It's a multi-step process. They went towards the Baron, pinked it, pushed out the waves, went back to Baron, looking for more vision, take away the red buff. Now they're looking to push out the waves once again. All this time is just ticking over. You see that ward on your screen right there from Tectonic will be timing out fairly soon. So despite not actually clearing out a bunch of the vision, it will just die after that 3-minute mark.
I like this, however, from Trance. Has given up all priority top side of the map. However, he's saying if they fight for the next mid wave, as opposed to going straight to Baron, I'm going to have a great flank here, and we should be able to take him down.
And Sybil's honestly even deeper there, looking at the Wraith camp, and this could be a big flank coming out of Tectonic. Claire does have flash, but he's very immobile if Nautilus ever lands on top of him. But they just walk over to Baron.
Yeah, walking this one out. They start up the Baron. It isn't in vision because there is a control ward in the pit. However, might have seen people round the corner. And now they will second scrying orbit. So, see it at 9,000 health. However, Legacy have stuck on it for now.
And that's the third blue orb that they have. TP gets pulled by Paprise.
They've caught Claire, however, is going to go down to the knockup. Will he actually die? Yes, he will. And now all of a sudden, on the back end, Raid going to jump back into Paprise. Flashes away, and you can see Trance gets the hook on. Big silence will be there, but Mimic is just doing so much damage. Finally, only will have to flash out another 2-man knockup, and Shock still has Shockwave.
And Mimic 100% saves the fight there. The ulti, the threat of the barrels, means that Guncrab and Shock just dealt absolutely no damage. Paprise TP's in. He was even a Cho'Gath that was able to cleanse out of CC, and they just couldn't find follow-up on that team fight there. Legacy just goes straight back to Baron.
Yeah, they're trying to stop them from doing the Infernal Drake. However, big question is, do they know that Shock still has the Shockwave up and available? Doesn't have much mana, and they will force them off.
Yep, only incredibly low. Can't continue tanking that one up. Mimic does a whole boatload of damage, but the keg does not land. So Tectonic, for the time being, force them off the Baron, but in saying that, Legacy force them off the Infernal.
So no Infernal Drake pickup for now. You can see multiple members heading across. Let's take another look at this.
And how does Clay get caught? That's a blind hook into the bush. The blue orb isn't there, and if Nautilus is in range, the ultimate will 100% land, irrespective of the flash coming out. Paprise gets CC'd up, but the ultimate here coming out of Gangplank means that Sybil can't follow up, Guncrab or Shock on Trance going in on the backside. Paprise very close to picking up only there. But at this point, it's just disaster. They can't pick it up. That's an Infernal Drake.
Yeah, they've got themselves an Infernal. Now they just have to get the heck out of dodge. Paprise will give his life up for the Dragon. See whether now it costs them Baron.
And I feel like this happens so often to Paprise, that he just gets left alone in the front lines. Maybe a little bit of overextension there. He's the one that has to pick it up, but he gets left in between multiple Legacy members. Has flash, but that at that point wouldn't have even saved him. Tectonic going to be 4v5 trying to contest this one.
But they should be able to do it. They still have Shockwave. They still have guaranteed CC coming out of Sybil, coming out of Trance. So this is a contestable Baron. It is only 25 minutes in. A lot of poke damage as well.
No GP ulti, no Rakan ulti means Legacy's turn isn't all that great. Only is falling down.
One more time, Claire. Banshees is broken. They now can get over Trance. Once again, big damage coming out. Will have to flash away. But is that enough? Now 4,000 damage left on this Baron. Ultimate will be used now, 2,000. They drop Gangplank ultimate. Sybil goes into the pit. Are they actually going to Shockwave it? Do they try and take it down? They do! And they get the Baron. And once again, Legacy's woes continue.
100% just give the Baron over to Tectonic. Shockwave does enough damage, puts it low. Sybil goes over the wall, doesn't even have to flash because he's Camille. He has huge legs, gets himself the smite, and disaster for Legacy. They're so strong, so far ahead. 4 versus 5. Paprise is in the base this whole time. Sure, he comes back up, but doesn't even have TP. Trance, so tanky. The knockup from Only was buffered through with an with the hook there from Nautilus. Ez ulti, because he's gone for a little bit more AP, does a significant amount of damage, but only so far away. He can't smite that one. Gets to 200 and, what, like 75 HP there? Gets secured, and huge turnaround from Tectonic.
You got to question what the heck was going on there. They stayed on it for so long. If you're not going to do it, you leave it at 4,000 health.
Yep.
Not at 2,000.
Yeah, especially against an Orianna. You have a Cho'Gath and Ezreal. All of these champions you know can hit the Baron from over the wall with relative ease, and they just get it way too low.
And that is an AP Ezreal coming out. It wasn't Archangels. He's 4,000 gold down, ladies and gentlemen. But eventually, his ultimate going to hit like a freight train. If he gets to 6 items, one ultimate will win the game.
Yeah, what is better at 6 items?
I would argue that in a team fight that goes for over, you know, the 8-second, like that initial burst window, that AD Ezreal does a boatload more. But if it is like a W across the team and an ultimate across the team, AP Ezreal, real good.
And it's also just like one of those things, you do not play against AP Ezreal. So like, do you get hit with a W in the face that all of a sudden, instead of literally being irrelevant, actually just hits like a truck? That could be super rough. Like, you're not practiced against this sort of thing. Of course, he's still in a 4,000 gold hole. Tectonic, with the Baron, are able to take themselves down a turret. Will buy them some time. Legacy in this position should have been able to secure the Baron. That's an 8-0 Xayah. They should be pushing onto the base at this point, but Tectonic going to buy themselves a lot of time.
Picked himself up a cheeky pair of Nikes as well, and he shot back to base.
Ah, he did.
Got himself the blue boots.
The old 27-minute sorcerer shoes
No,
purchase.
that was definitely 28 minutes.
It's a little bit rough there, a little bit late, but
better late than never. That's what I always say, Bryce.
100%.
Liking the build that's coming out of young Gunkrab.
It might have rained already, but got his shoes on when he got home, you know.
That's the important thing, as long as you're not tracking dirty feet through the house. I don't care how you get to the destination.
You get home, you get your disgusting gungy feet, put them straight into your Ugg boots, you know, no socks.
Oh, actually, now you say it that way, I'm not happy.
Because you're Nick Boy and
no
disgusting.
socks on. No, you do not wear socks on Ugg boots.
I'm going to have to disagree with you. But Tectonic, with the Baron, despite being 5,000 gold in a hole right now.
They're looking for the fight here. Over they go. Get the ultimate out of raid.
Featherstorm does have to be
I'm
blown.
Excited.
Doesn't want to get blown up by the Camille, because if Camille locks you down, sure, like she has a stopwatch, she can live. And that means the Nautilus will 100% get on top of you. Shockwave is 100% going to land. Tectonic, if they can lead with Sybil and get onto a carry, they have the reliable damage there. It will come through, and there's not a whole lot they can deal with. Claire, of course, was saved around the Baron.
Meanwhile, mid lane, they have gone with the ultimate being dropped. However, now Papara is ghosting into the front line. That barrel will hit Trance. However, the fight continues, and in goes the Rakan onto Gunkrab, looking to try and get it started. And he will just fall down. No Shockwave still being used.
Such a split fight. The carries are so far away from one another. That was only running up to the jungle. He falls incredibly low, has to flash decoy, gets onto both carries, but the follow-up just wasn't there from Legacy. Moments before we saw that fight happen, Claire was farming topside, and he's a Syndra. Has to walk all the way over, so...
Bryce, I am just confused. I'm looking at these fights, and I'm thinking the tanks are fighting the tanks in a good old gentleman agreement.
Yep.
The carries are just left wide open. Decoy says, well, I'll grab him. And then he just gets blown up without the shockwave used again.
The carries are the pets, and like the pet owners are having a biff, and the pets just don't know what to do. They don't want to fight each other, you know, they're kind of just barking at each other from a distance. Decoy got the engage, but nobody had damage to hit anyone. And he just dies for free. This is
I mean, I don't know what he was expecting out of Raid. Raid doesn't have ultimate, so he can't walk up. I mean, he can flash forward potentially and then try and stopwatch the Shockwave, but he knows it's coming for him.
100%. Shockwave was there. Feast was still available from Paprise. Trance didn't have ulti, but if he hits him with an auto attack without Featherstorm, you're immediately locked down. So
Raid's just saying, I'm 8-0-2 and a very big boy right now. Can someone hold a CC ultimate for the tank that's inevitably going to run at me?
Yep. Unfortunately, the answer at this point has been no. 10 seconds on the Dragon, you have to think it's probably not that good. It's not going to be an Infernal.
Can I see the gold? How are they only 4,000 gold behind? You can see 2,000 gold in the top lane, still 3,000 gold, but mid lane is about 1,100 gold in favor.
As with jungle is like 1,000.
Yeah, all right.
Super weird. Ezreal's still in a huge hole, but yeah, the CC lands. Like, if your tanks are landing the CC and the enemy isn't, your Ezreal ulti, your Ezreal W is 100% going to land. Legacy sacking the Ocean Drake and just going straight for top side.
However, now will be greeted. That's a very nice stun over the wall. Does half a trance herself.
It's a whole lot of damage and doesn't even have a death cap yet. I'm still sticking to my theory that Nautilus is the squishiest tank in the game.
Fresh.
Thresh isn't a tank though.
Okay.
You build coin in this meta. You don't even go Relic Shield anymore. You
right.
go straight Ancient Coin.
Potentially. Trance still marching forward, still looking for
Ulti.
something. That is the ultimate. But oh my goodness, that damage was disgusting. Knock up onto 2 members, and now Mimic is trying to get in.
Shockwave.
But cannot get there. Shockwave is on. Gungrab takes the full damage out of Mimic, and now they have to disengage. Flash forward. That is the Archangel Staff used. And now Mimic trying to re-engage, but huge shields coming out.
And it's only the 1 kill. Decoy's the only member to actually drop blinking health bars from the Ezreal, from the Nautilus. Every time Decoy goes in for an engage, the silence comes out from Paprise and he immediately dies before he can dash back. Sybil looking to get onto the carries of Legacy, can't quite close the gap.
Yeah, just tickling him right now, trying to keep him interested. However, not going to be the case.
Unfortunately, not in a barrel. So can't quite connect on that one. And Legacy constantly looking for these engages, but they're just not sticking. Cannot get onto the carries, and it's so hard to walk towards this Tectonic lineup. That means the ball is just standing there. You have to walk over the top. It was a very nice Featherstorm from Raid to get himself out of that one. He's had 2 very good games so far. The Swain absolutely popping off, was picking people left, right, and center. Now 8-0 on this Aya, but just people aren't locked down. The front line isn't there for him to be able to deal damage to these carries in Legacy, despite the gold lead struggling to make a team fight work.
Despite 50 CS and 7 kills over his opponent, Raid just cannot find the team fight his team needs to win this game. And eventually, I mean, Gunkrab will get towards 8 items. Will he do any damage with them? I don't know. I'm not well versed in this matchup.
There's a lot of squishy members. You have a Gangplank, Syndra, Zaya Rakan. It's not like you're just hitting tanks.
So you're saying yes? You reckon he will do damage?
Yes.
All right.
If not, Nautilus is incredibly reliable and ulti will land, and the Ez ulti is going to come flying through from left field, and it will do a whole bunch of damage. He went back, picked himself up a Lich Bane there, so now his Qs might actually do something.
Yep, certainly will. Obviously, the reason Sheen is so good on normal AD is because auto attack reset means that you're able to get more auto attacks out. Also, just it boosts your base damage.
Scales off AD as well,
yep.
like your base AD, whereas now you have an AP Ezreal with the Sheen, now Lich Bane that actually scales off AP.
I want to see him hit something.
Yep.
Oh, that hook is on, and they're going to actually go for it.
Here we go.
Do they get into the back line? The ultimate lands, but a huge knockback out of Claire gets everyone. Shockwave arrow into the front line. Decoy now trying to keep them busy on the back of it, and Sybil taking so much damage. Mimic flashes after him, looking to take him out. Ultimate will be used, however, now that is the Electrocute proc finally used, and he shot him with a gunblade as well.
And that was the one fight Tectonic actually go proactive, and it gets turned around. Decoy finds multiple carries, and the hook, the ultimate from Nort, landed onto Claire. I was so excited for the Ezreal ulti, and it did like 300 damage.
And they've sent their 2 carries back to base because they both have teleport, so they'll use it now. You can see looking to try and continue this. That's a big shield coming out of Shock.
Orianna and Ezreal, probably 2 of the best carries at dealing with someone in a Baron pit. You have so much range poke here, but Mimic is so incredibly strong. Falls low.
Yeah, but Shockwave nearly back up and available. Does he get it? No, he doesn't. On 25 health it got left there. Gunkrab goes into the back line, but he gets blown up, and Legacy finally get a Baron.
Unfortunately, Shock cannot run a miracle back-to-back. Can't get the Baron, and Legacy, they finally secure it. This is 35 minutes into the game. This play probably should have happened 6, 7, 8 minutes ago, but they finally still have the gold lead, about 8,000 here, have the Baron buff, and are now looking to force.
And that was close.
Yep.
27 health I saw flash on the Baron buff.
Ooh. Yikes. You don't like seeing that one.
Don't know what to tell you, bro.
When it gets below 1,000, you're like, oh, what's happening? 27, you're getting below 100? Something's gone disastrously wrong. Raid, still on his quest to not die this game. Wants to be dishing out the damage, maybe with Baron buff. If only can't be the front line he needs, maybe the melee creeps can.
It's now 10,000 gold. I mean, this is a big deal. We, however, do have nearly complete items on Shock, so if he hits the 5-man Miracle Ultimate under a turret, potential.
That's a big chunk. Sybil
nearly gets put into GA, which would have been a disaster, however. Should be able to go back now.
Buys some time. Mimic on the top side. Incredibly strong in this Gangplank. Has the GA, so if you're going to go pick on him as Tectonic right now, the fact that Legacy are already your base means you have to kill him twice. He's so strong, will live for such a long time, it's kind of rough to even try and pick on the Gangplank at this point.
This is the other thing that you don't talk about a lot, but without a genuine AD threat, if they do break the base and don't end the game, it becomes Shock's sole job to eat minions because he's the only one that does it quickly, meaning Gunkrab not going to get towards that late game status.
Look, if this goes super late, Tectonic, they have a very versatile composition. You can sell your AP items and then you do have an AD carry. If it goes late enough, but they're going to have to stall for an incredibly long time. It looks like they're just going to seed this bottom inhib. And we'll just go down to Legacy. Turret breaks. Sybil steps up, cops a bunch of abilities in the face, has to back away.
Yeah, they can't do anything about this. They're just slowly losing out. You can see 3 cannon creeps there. Meanwhile, mid lane, they look to pull the trigger. However, they throw the ultimate at Sybil, and now he will get blown up. Gunkrab on the back line takes so much damage. Claire flashes over the wall, and will just delete him. However, he gets hooked. Shockwave onto everyone, but there's just no one left available. Already 3 members dead. Flash forward from Only. That will be the 2-man stun from Claire. Double kill picked up for the Rakan. Decoy popping off on the back line, and it looks like finally Legacy will move towards the inhibitors and move towards the Nexus turrets and pick up what is a much needed 2-0.
Need all 3 points. Look, it was incredibly slow. They want to pad their stats, and unfortunately they won't. Shock saved by the bell there, and took a long time, much longer than it needed to, but Legacy ultimately do get the very needed win. And that was a much more convincing game than game number 1, you know?
Ooh. All right, sell me on it.
Tectonic, game number 1, had the lead early game. Yep. They had the plan denying blue buffs. This time, Legacy, the Xayah Rakan, constantly chipping away, Mimic on the GP, just scaling that one up. They were in control the entire time.
They were in control until they gave a Baron over.
Yeah.
Then I would say they lost control of the game.
Actually, I'm going to backtrack. That was not a more convincing game. Yes. You fumble the Baron at like 20 minutes, you give that one to an Orianna Camille. It's, we'll forget about if you take that out of the game, sure, much more convincing.
Absolutely. If you ignore all the mistakes they made, they were perfect.
Unfortunately, they did happen. But they get the W, and that's the most important thing. It was scrappy, but after losing to AV, they definitely needed the bounce back, and getting all 3 points in a league that is so incredibly close at the start of the day. You talked about Direwolves are the only team with more than 1 point between them and everyone else on the ladder. So being 1 point up, they now jump up the ladder heavily.
Yeah, absolutely. And they actually go ahead of Tectonic right now because they are on equal points, but will hold the head-to-head over them. So Tectonic, even though they've picked up 2 much-needed 2-0s, have fallen down a little bit in the last couple of weeks.
And that's so weird, right? Like, Tectonic can beat Chiefs and Order, but they can't beat AV. They lose to Direwolves, that's expected. Can't beat Mammoth. Can't beat Legacy. They're definitely punching up in the league, and yeah, it's just super weird to think about the teams they have beaten and the teams they've lost to. But Legacy, popping off.
They're in a similar vein. I mean, Legacy honestly have lost against Avant Gaming. They dropped a couple of games versus Mammoth, didn't they?
Yeah, like Legacy in their victories, haven't 2-0'd before this point. They went 2-1 versus Bombers, 2-1 versus Mammoth.
Yep.
They got demolished by Chiefs and Direwolves, but now pick up all 3.
Pick up all 3 points there, and obviously have a big test against Order next week. I mean, given if Order lose against Chiefs, that once again could catapult Legacy into that kind of top 3, top 4 position.
One of the teams that absolutely have the fate in their own hands, you know, start of the split isn't where they want it to be. They come into the day literally last, solo down there on that amount of points, but now get 3, jumping back up, and they have the fate in their own hands.
Yeah, they certainly do. However, that is set 1 of the night. To hear a little bit more about it, let's throw it over to the analyst hangout.
That's right. I am sitting here with the victorious Raid. Congratulations on the game. I mean, that must feel good heading into the middle of the split to get that win to start climbing back up the ladder.
Yeah, it feels really good because we've been really down recently. It's just been a really hard start to the split. We didn't expect it at all. So it was very important we got to it today.
So, obviously you guys came off a big high from Rift Rivals, and then you had that disappointing loss to AV last week.
Yeah.
What have you guys done in reflection? It seems like some things have changed, and what have you done in terms of kind of changing that momentum and putting back in your favor?
I mean, I think Tim saved us. I think Tim just came in and started working with us every day, and just getting our shit together. You know, I think we were just being really lazy, and we weren't focusing. I think scrims we just weren't improving at all. We were just playing for the sake of it, and it showed versus AV because they just destroyed us.
So do you think that Carbon historically has been one of the biggest, probably one of the main figures in Legacy's success over the last few years, now not in the roster anymore.
Yeah.
How hands-on has he been, and is he more of like a mentor figure to you guys, or is he like actively coming in every day and acting more of a coach?
Yeah, well, he's in the house every day. But he's not like with our scrims every day. Like, it's kind of like he's a mentor and he does go through VODs with our jungler like all the time. But he's just like been helping the whole team like overtime pretty much to get our shit back together. And I think we were just getting really complacent. But when he came in, like everyone just like got really scared. And you know, like shit, we've got to work hard because you can just get replaced like that.
It was like dad's hair.
Yeah, pretty much. Like it was just that feeling like, holy shit, everyone has to play more and focus more and, you know, get really serious.
And my final question is, what do you think Legacy need to improve on in order to really step it up in before Gauntlet and really have a great Gauntlet performance heading into finals?
I think micro-wise, I think we're all like we can all pretty much win OPL. It's just teamwork. I think our teamwork's really subpar compared to the other teams. When our teamwork's good, it's like really good, but it's just not consistent enough. So we're just looking to work really hard on our communication and get it to top shape before Gauntlet.
It's really interesting. You seem to be quite self-aware in terms of like the I don't want to say weakness, but weakness is the only way I can think of you guys and the team. Is that something that, you know, when you were saying that Tim came in and gave you a kick up the bum, is that something that you realized over the course of the last few weeks that you had been slipping, or he actually opened your eyes to the fact that you guys weren't performing at the level that, you know, he would be expecting and you would be expecting of yourself?
Look, there's lots of reasons for it. It's just like the main thing is like when we learn something, like if we're in split one or something, like little things you kind of forget while you're playing. And I think we just had to go back and relearn some basics because it was ruining our mid game like really hard. So yeah, we just kind of went back to our, back to scratch, Legacy 101.
Fantastic,
Tim
man.
gave us.
Well, it's great to see you guys back on the rise, and again, creating a really interesting split. I mean, no one knows what's happening, and that is making this really exciting. And up next, we'll be seeing more of that as Avant take on Mammoth after these highlights.
Out of Rakan, finally, Paprise is a fridge, but will fall down eventually. Yes, he will. Nice stun onto three members. Shockwave onto everyone. And now the fight has really started. Sibble in the back line trying to clean up Mimic, however, will not be able to do it. Mimic goes golden, and this is a wash right now. Sibble goes into the pit. Are they actually going to shockwave it? Do they try and take it down? They do! And they get the Baron. And once again, Legacy's woes continue. But oh my goodness, that damage was disgusting. Knock up onto two members, and now Mimic is trying to get in. They cannot get there. Do they get into the back line? The ultimate lands, but a huge knockback out of Claire gets everyone. Shockwave arrow into the front line. Decoy now trying to keep them busy on the back of it, and Sybil taking so much damage. Mimic flashes after him, looking to take him out. Ultimate will be used. Claire flashes over the wall and will just delete him. However, he gets hooked. Shockwave onto everyone, but there's just no one left available. Already 3 members dead. Flash forward from Only. That will be the 2-man stun from Claire. Double kill picked up for the Rakan. And it looks like finally Legacy will move towards the inhibitors and move towards the Nexus turret and pick up what is a much needed 2-0